Welcome back to your container gardening tutorial. I'm Rob Sproul. Today we're talking about some of the newest cutting edge trends in container gardening. We're in the back range of one of the back ranges of Salisbury Greenhouse. It just goes on forever. And these are some of our container gardens. They're just babies now, they're just growing, but these are some of the recipes that we're putting together. And I want to talk to you a bit about them so you can plan your own container garden. And we'll talk a little bit about the current trends of container gardening. So probably the biggest trend and the most interesting, well, one of the most interesting, is foliage. Look at this container garden. There's no annuals in there. There's no blooming plants in there. It's all foliage. You have beautiful coleus, you have sweet potato vine, you have trifolium, and you have the Muhlenbeckia, the creeping Jenny. All foliage, beautiful, beautiful colors. You notice the amount of lime greens we're using. We're also using a lot of citrus, a lot of oranges, a lot of yellows. These colors are very, very popular in 2009. So that's foliage. So don't be afraid of foliage in your container gardening. All containers should have some foliage. A container gardening doesn't have to be just color. When it started 10 years ago or so, that was the point. Squeeze as much color, cram as much color in like a wet sponge and squeeze it up into a little ball. Get as much color as you can to that container gardening. Now we're developing. We're starting to learn that there's more to container gardens than color. There's texture, there's form, there's shape, there's size. There's all these amazing different types of container gardening. These ones, these are the color. We have some osteospermum, which aren't blooming yet. We have petunias, which are just starting to bloom, and sweet potato vine. Now this is very interesting. This is another one with no blooming annuals except the Gora. Gora is a wonderful new plant, and it's on our website. You can take a look at it, and it arches up. I mean, it's in our flyer. It arches up in beautiful, beautiful pink kind of butterfly-looking flowers, and it's going to go very well with this tricolor epomia, which is going to go very well with this Rex begonia here. Once it'll grow larger, and it will be very, very impressive. Moving down the line a bit, we look at some of the hot colors. This is a very hot color. This is called Oxalis Charmed Wine. Very, very big this year. Last year we got in, we couldn't keep it in stock. And if you're looking for a shade plant, a double impatient never goes out of style. Little rosette flowers, wonderful flowers. They look like little roses. This is a real Mother's Day favorite. Of course, one trend that has been popular for a few years, and it's only getting more so, is grasses. And I mean, we are in the prairies, so some of the grasses that are popular in Ontario, not so much here, but this is called millet. This is called purple barrett millet. This is a container gardening favorite. It doesn't grow as big as the original purple majesty millet, which is like 5 feet tall. This is going to top out around 2-3 feet. These blades throughout the summer are going to turn a beautiful, beautiful dark burgundy, and it's going to keep that seed pod for weeks and weeks and weeks, various times throughout the summer. So that's a little bit of the trends. You can also look more at herbs. You can bring herbs into your container garden. They're gorgeous and they're tasty. You can bring indoor plants out. How about beautiful crotons, the oranges and yellows of a croton, or an orchid in a shade container garden with some foliage. And you use a process there called pot submersion, and I talk about that in one of the other clips. There's so much you can do with container gardening, and the great thing about container gardening is there's no commitment. When you plant a tree in your yard, choosing a tree is like choosing a dog. You're stuck with it for about 10 or 20 years. You've got to wonder what kind of mess it's going to make in your yard and how big it's going to get and this and that. With a container gardening, the next year you can try something new. So experiment, have fun. Container gardening is all about fun. Gardening is all about creativity, expressing yourself, kind of going with the whim. So on one token, while it's important to think about your container garden beforehand and some of the things you're going to do and the colors you're going to use, on the other hand, if you come into a garden center with a too strict a design or too strict idea of what you're going to do, then you're going to limit yourself a little bit. So when you come into Salisbury, putting together a container garden, keep your mind open to some of the thousands of different types of plants we have and really have fun.